Hello YouTube, this is Dr. Ronald W. Satz, founder and chair of the International Society of Unified Science and president of TransPower Corporation, a commercial and custom software manufacturing and certified systems engineering company. I work as a theoretical physicist and as a systems and mechanical engineer. I also work as a theoretical economist and operations research. My theoretical physics mentor, Dewey B. Larson, was also a theoretical economist. And what I've done with both his physical science work and his economic science work is to make everything computational and thus easy to apply to the real world. So today I'm continuing with my review of my latest and probably last commercial software program, Optimal Economist and Implementation of Larsonian Econophysics. It's econophysics because it is real science. It is not sociology. Excuse me. Today we're going to cover half of the graphs that we have for the macroeconomics realm of economics. So here we go. I can click this from the main menu. And I'm just going to start from the top and go down. So I'm going to move this all the way up. We'll go to capital K first. And that's the ordinate. Notice that the abscissa will be the year. We have 15 years of data and then 5 years of projection. So you just have to click here, generate graph data, and then generate the graph. So here's the U.S. country graph here, capital K, it's going up. So you can see the projections, pretty obvious. So that's capital K. I'm just going to do 24 of these out of the 48 graphs you can use. So investments I, generate the graph data, and you can see this is all the way over here. You have the abscissa and then you have the ordinates. And I use scientific notation, of course. So I use the Berg algorithm, by the way, to do the extrapolations. It's the best that we have. It's not perfect. There's no perfect projection. But that's interesting. So the projection was coming down a bit. And this was obviously before any idea that we would be in this depression recession due to COVID. And here's the phone. I'm just going to turn it off. All right. Let's go to the next one. Y volume observed. Decimal change in capacity utilization. Generate the graph data. Generate the graph. So you can see the fluctuations. Of course, it came down after that. What it is with this phone. Anyway, so yeah, capacity utilization. All right, next one. CRES, decimal change in consumer reservoirs. This is savings, basically. Generate the graph data, generate the graph. You can see how it plunged due to the financial recession there, and was coming down here anyway. So it looks like when I did the projections from 2015 to 2020, it was pretty clear that it was eventually going to come back down. All right, next one. R is the interest rate. Generate the graph data, generate the graph. And that's kind of interesting. This is the real rental rate of capital. You know, your credit card interest rate is the real interest rate, not the phony interest rates that are foisted on us by the Federal Reserve, these artificially low interest rates, which are garbage. The real interest rate in the economy are actually what your credit card bank charges you, incidentally. All right, let's continue. Number of employees. Generate the graph, generate the data. You can see the big drop here from the financial meltdown, but then it came back up, and then it's coming down. And of course, with COVID, it's really a lot worse than that. There's no way that I could have projected that before. In volume, this is the ratio of current number to previous number of employees. So it's just a ratio. So you can see how it plunged there. Now here would have really plunged all the way down and come back up to some degree. I mean, who could have predicted that the Chinese Communist Party would have unleashed this ridiculous virus on us? Alright, wages W. Generate the graph data, generate the graph. Slightly going up. Decimal change in wages. This is kind of interesting here. Change in productivity. By the way, this is really an important parameter. It's only by an increase in productivity that we can give more money to workers. That is the only way. Governmental force is not the solution. Taxing the rich is not the solution, incidentally. So generate the graph data, generate the graph. And there you can see it right here. It's been pretty terrible, frankly, for quite a few years. It used to be 0.03 or 3%, but it's been appalling for a long time. Okay, so imports. Imports have been going up and they've come down, and there we are here. Change in imports divided by GDP, of course. So there hasn't been much change in imports. There wouldn't be. Of course, then we have exports. Increasing. I think we predicted that pretty well, I guess. Exports. Down to exports. Again, not exactly much change here. Let's go to next one. NX is exports minus imports, which we use the twin deficit hypothesis, so this is equal to the federal budget deficit. And of course, it's been increasing. Well, it's negative, but you get the point. All right. Of course, again, this does not include the trade deficit has increased just as the federal budget deficit has increased because of the COVID situation, which there's no way that I or any other theoretical economist could have predicted that. M0, this is high-powered money, this is base money supply. That's what really counts, not the phony other measurements. And here I predicted that it was going to go up for a little bit, and then it's supposed to come down, but obviously it's gone up. But it hasn't really gotten into the purchasing power stream of consumers. That's what happened in the 2008, 2009 recession. There was an increase in the money supply, but it really never got much into the purchasing power stream of consumers, so it didn't affect inflation as much as one would think that it would. So that's M0. GM0, decimal change in the money supply. And here, there's an increase. uh, it's actually increased a lot more than that because of the COVID situation, but at least I got the trend right. And this was, projecting from 2015, so it's pretty amazing anyway. G effective is the effective decimal change in the money supply. This is what actually gets into the purchasing power stream. So it is above zero here. Started to go up and up and up. Alright. G ob here. This is decimal change in money supply to obtain 0% inflation. This would be the optimal amount. So I favor 0% inflation or minus 1% inflation, which is 1% deflation. I don't favor this 2% nonsense, which wrecks savers. We need to be gradually, a gradual depreciation of the currency, not depreciation, but deflation of the currency is better. Of course, we wouldn't want a huge deflation, obviously. Okay, so that's that. And then we have minus 1. Here's the minus 1. And then G effective to GM0 ratio effective to actual change. This is kind of interesting. This is pretty huge. So the effective is really, let's just look at that. 20 to minus 20. It's huge. Wow. Then we have inflation observed percent. Generate. Now this is based on government data. Now you could say, the government data is ridiculous. It's really a lot higher, but this is the data that we have. And that's projected, of course. This is the target of the Fed, and then a little bit below target. We haven't seen huge amounts of inflation to date, even though the Fed has expanded their balance sheet from $4 trillion to $7 trillion, simply because the money is still stuck in the banks. Now, if it ever got into the purchasing power stream of the consumers, you would see prices wildly go up. Assuming, of course, that the velocity remains the same. If the velocity comes down, well, then that wouldn't be the case. GDP observed. Generate the graph data. And here it's projecting a gradual increase. Obviously, it's come down now. GR percent based on GDP observed. So this will be the last one today. It's enough. And there it is, about 1% growth, which is pretty anemic. Of course, it went down negative in that recession, and pretty anemic. Alright, well, that's enough graphs for today. We'll finish the graphs next week. Please study my paper, Theory of Macroeconomics and Macroeconomics, Larsonian Econophysics. You can find it for free on the web. Originally, this software program was priced at $295, but given the recession or depression that we're in now, I've reduced TransPower Corporation. My company's reduced the price all the way down to $95. Still provide free email support for the life of the product. Nothing like this in all the world. Larsonian Econophysics supersedes all other economic theories, just as the reciprocal system supersedes all previous physical science theories. So I hope you're doing well on this economy, and thanks for your attention. Please like, subscribe to my channel. We need every customer subscriber we can get. And if you have any questions or comments, I welcome them. Press done here. And again, thanks for your attention.